Card condition is one of those things that can be really confusing for beginners. And if you don't understand it, you could be paying way too much or selling for way too little. It took me a long time when I was a beginner to really understand the difference between light played, medium played, heavy played, and how to categorize it without someone else telling me what it is. And the reality is the lines are a little blurry. So in this video, I want to help you accurately determine card condition. Let's get it. So before we dive too deep into the video, there's 4 things you should pay attention to on every single card to determine the condition. The 4th one doesn't directly affect condition, but it's important for you to know. First being corners. These are the most likely spots to get whitening or dings, so it's important to look at those. The second's the edges of the card. Same thing. You're really looking for whitening on the back. There might be little chips or dings or bends that you really want to look for too. And then of course the surface of the card. The most important thing here is looking for scratching. And honestly, that's not very easy to see in modern cards, but in vintage holos, scratching is very obvious. And it's super easy to scratch the holos, so you've got to be extra careful. And then the 4th one is centering. Now centering doesn't affect near mint versus heavy played, but it does affect the card when you're grading it. So I just wanted to mention it. I've got a different video talking about centering if you want to check that out to learn how you can identify a good centered versus a bad centered. So let's jump right in and start with near mint and go all the way to damaged. Starting with near mint. Now as a buyer, I know when you hear near mint, you think mint, but the reality is mint and near mint aren't the same. Near mint can have very slight whitening. It has very minimal wear and the surface is almost perfect. So for example, this card here, even though it's got the tiniest bit of whitening, it's almost flawless. It's near mint. So for near mint, you want to remember not perfect, but extremely close, almost indistinguishable to the naked eye. From a price point, near mint's going to be the most expensive you can buy if it's not graded. Next, we move to lightly played. Now, lightly played and near mint have a very thin line between the two. Honestly, most of the cards I buy are lightly played because it's way less expensive, but to the naked eye, it's almost indistinguishable. But there are some more flaws in lightly played. In lightly played, you're looking for minor edge wear. There can be some slight scratches, maybe a little bit more whitening on the corners. The real key here is if you're trained and you're looking for flaws, you're gonna notice some. But if you're completely new and you don't know what to look for, it's gonna look like a perfect card. This is a good example of lightly played here. This was classified as lightly played when I bought it. I haven't taken it out of the sleeve. It was sent to me in. This card's the epitome of lightly played. Now let's move to moderately played. Now I know what you're thinking. I don't want to buy anything less than lightly played. And I want to challenge you on that. A lot of the cards I buy are medium played. And I started doing that after I really understood the differences, because before I knew anything, I'm like, yeah, I want the best card. Why would I buy medium played? I may as well spend the extra money to get the perfect one. And that's true, but that 20% can be astronomical in old or more expensive cards. Moderately played is going to have some whitening on the back. So if you're really particular or you're looking to grade, I wouldn't suggest medium played. But if you're looking for cards for the binder where you don't care about the back, these cards look almost perfect in the front. Some of these can have very minor edge dents too. If there's minimal edge dents, not heavy or damage played, I would classify that as medium played. There can also be some scratching on medium played. If there's evident scratching, medium played is definitely the highest that card could be. So here's a good example of medium played. From the front, it still looks really good. It's a great binder card, but if you flip it over and look at the back, it's got some whitening. It's still not really that bad. It wasn't put through a washing machine or anything crazy like that. It's still a great looking card, but it's obviously not going to grade a 9 or 10. Now let's go to heavy played. The most of your childhood cards, if you're pulling out your childhood collection and you played with them as a kid, they're going to be heavy played. Heavy played is going to have edge wear. It's going to have some serious whitening on the back. It could even have a crease or two. Definitely scratching in the holo. Lightly put, it's been loved. And this is a good example of a heavy played card. I don't shy away from heavy played and the more expensive cards because I think they've got a history to them. They've got a story, and they're just obviously way cheaper than a near mint one. So I have bought plenty of heavy played in my collection. My goal is to collect every single Charizard ever made, so I've got to go heavy played with some. And then I can always upgrade them in the future. And that brings us to damaged. Now, damaged and heavy played, just like near mint and lightly played, there's a thin line between the two. There's a lot of debate around it, and there's really no perfect answer. But I'll tell you how I classify them. Damaged for me is if a card's bent, ripped, water damaged, or even has some of the front coming off and holos revealing in other places. Now, this base set Charizard is definitely damaged. Could it pass as heavy played for some people? Maybe, but if you saw a card like this and someone was saying it was heavy played, honestly, I'd challenge that. I think this is a great example of heavy played. It's still a good card. I mean, I bought it this way. It still looks good in a binder. From far away, it looks like a great card, but when you're examining it, clearly it's got some damage to it. Again, there's a story with that though, so I don't mind that. Now, as a beginner, there's one thing I want to mention that I struggled with in the beginning, and it's that every single card you pull from a pack is not near mint. Cards can get damaged in the packs. So there were so many times where I pulled a card, I sleeved it, and I immediately thought near mint. Now looking back, now that I understand this stuff, a lot of cards you pull out of the pack can be lightly played or even medium played. They can have whitening on the back. They can even have little little creases. So that makes near mint that much more rare. So now when you're buying or selling cards, I hope you've got a much better understanding of condition. You can look back to your collection now and kind of understand what the cards are worth. Don't forget to like the video if it was helpful. If you've got any questions or you want to share anything cool about your collection, drop it in the comments below. I read every single comment. Subscribe to the channel for more beginner content, and I'll catch you on the next one.